Hello, captains. This is Kent again, and this is the Flight Show. Welcome. So, this video today is a follow-up to a previous video that I did. I had done a review on Rex Skyforce 3D, where I showed you basically its layouts, how you manage weather, and also gave you a little bit of a view of what the weather looks like in the game. But it was only one particular weather situation that I gave you. It was heavily cloudy. I took off from KBNA, or Nashville International, let you see what it was like as you ascended into the clouds and how the ground would disappear, what it looked like in the clouds, and then what it looked like when you emerged on top of them, to show kind of the effects that I found to be much more realistic. But in the comments that I got afterwards, there were some people who were like, oh yeah, this is cool, but I'm still on the fence of whether I really should get it. And I could understand why, because you only saw one aspect of the weather. So I thought it would be a good idea to take off and fly and just show you various forms of the weather. And, you know, basically in saying, oh wow, the weather generation that I have never looked that good, or it doesn't have that in it. So I'm just going to show you different situations to fly in. So this is the program that I'm going to be using. I've done a review on it before. It's called FS Flight Controlled, and what it allowed me to do, it allows a lot of things, but for this particular video, it's good. As you can see, it has a bunch of different weather situations, and we're just going to fly through them to show you what they look like and how it affects the flight of the airplane. So let me bring this back down here. Alright, so we're going to start off with just the title that's called Clear Skies, and we're going to get out there. So I'm flying here out of Frankfurt International Airport in Frankfurt, Germany. So Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot. And I love this airport. It's by Aerosoft, mega scenery, Frankfurt. Really detailed, helps to make, show off the capabilities of Prepared 3D. So let's just go ahead and get out there. Oh, by the way, I am using Prepared 3D version 4.1. Okay, so let's just get out here. So as you can see, it's a clear day, no clouds in the sky. But now let's also understand that Rex Force also has shaders for the skies, even when they're cloudless. So you know how your skies look different depending on where on the Earth you are. And what they'll either do is let you set up a sky that you really like, or it'll give you the benefit of a 10-day cycle, and it'll cycle through those different those different colors of the sky for a given day. Again, check out my review to see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are taking off. There's Frankfurt, looking really cool. So you can see the haze on the background, and it's a nice, beautiful, clear day. And we're just going to gain some altitude here. Looking around just so that you can kind of see what the situation looks like on a clear day, because even having a clear day has detail. It has the hazing of the sky, what it looks like lower to the horizon versus high on the horizon. So, there's that subtlety there. Okay, so we're now at, I'll tell you what, I'll level out at 2,000 feet, and then we'll go through the different weather. Sorry for this little pause here. So that happens when I turn on my trim wheel, SATEC trim wheel for the first time. Don't know really where that comes from, but hey, we're just going to roll with it. Alright, so here we are at 2,000 feet. Let's level out. Trim it up. Alright, so while I get that together, this is close to 2,100. I'm going to bring the trim down just a little bit, and we'll get it going. Pull back the throttle a little. There we go. Okay, so let's do active sky weather theme right now. Now you notice that the plane had a little bit of a jolt because the weather kicks in, and if there are winds, then your plane is going to react to those winds. There's a setting of how sensitive or how strong the effects of turbulence are. So I had mine all the way up. I was like, if we're going to do weather, let's make it challenging. So okay. So what you may see here is here we have our wheels up. There we go. All right. So as you can see, the cloud base, and this is what I really wanted to point out. Before, you kind of had like these puffy cotton ball clouds that were very repetitive that made up the weather system. But what they prided themselves on now is that your clouds would be, each cloud would be original, and the detail of those clouds would be so much better than they were before. So getting a look, you don't necessarily see that repetitive, oh, that looks like that cloud, that looks like that cloud, a bunch of cotton balls hanging up in the sky. It's much more realistic. And now you got the cloud shading on, or the shade of the cloud on the ground prepared for, but when you see this effect in Symphony, it does seem to make this so much more immersive, so much more realistic. So I'm just going to turn around here, around Munich. We're going to just go between the city and the airport. But again, you can see nice. This thing was just after sky weather. I wouldn't have a word for what it is, but partly cloudy, sunny, but no precipitation. Let's go to building storms. And some of these titles would be familiar if you started off in, Flight Simulator 10, Flight Simulator Steam Edition. And some of them are unique to Orbx weather. So here we have building storms. You have a nice hazy effect, and the overcast. It's like a gray haze that's going over the area. Ooh, airplane coming in for a landing. Nice. All right. So now let's move on to cold fronts. Now, in cold fronts, different cloud effects, slightly different. It may have seemed a little more like the first one, which was active sky weather. But as you can see, the contrast between the previous weather effect, which was building storms, and the cold fronts. So now you're getting a better idea of what the effects are. Now, you see the little underhanging of the clouds there? As I recall, we really didn't see too much of that, or at least in that detail, with previous weather engines. And I'll mention again, this does not necessarily have to replace active sky. I still run active sky. It's just like beautiful weather generation. It actually can sync with it so that it puts the cloud art in there, essentially, while the active sky weather generates the weather. But this has its own weather generation, so it could stand alone. It's kind of up to you. All right, so let's see here. Now, let's go to, what was it, fair weather. Okay, so not as hazy. Clouds just kind of hanging out there. Pretty cool. Beautiful day for flying. Okay, so what I want to definitely do is get a little bit more altitude, because we may at some point want to be up in these clouds. So I'm going to trim for some. To get a little bit more altitude. Alright, so now let's look at fogged in. Now, as you can see, there are some clouds. Ooh, check out the details at the top of the cloud there, kind of photorealistic going on. But look at the ground. If we can see it, or am I too high? Okay, so really you're just getting fog right now. But depending on the altitude, what I have found is that it's a pretty realistic look of, you can see some of the ground, a little bit of the time. Like there you see a little bit of the airport. Now, I'm not too sure what this effect is, just kind of like this silvery look. I'm like, okay, that's too realistic. But that's the only criticism that I would have for this, for the fog. But otherwise, it's pretty cool. And you'll sometimes see that you will have a varying look as though it's not just all just flat gray. You're actually flying through varying densities. So that's a cool thing too. Okay, so let's go on to gray and rainy. So you have some clouds, it's gray out. You can see a little bit of the blue sky right about here. Very light, but then look at the ground. So you see the precipitation, you see you're right above the overcast layer, but you can see through it, and it varies. See how it gradually hides some of the scenery, and then some parts you can see through. That effect, really nice, more realistic than what I've seen before. Let's get out the airplane and just take a look real fast at what this looks like. Why am I landing here? Get back in here. Okay. So now you see that effect. Very cool. Yeah, I see that there is. I gotta redo my keys. There's something going on here, but let's not worry about that right now. We're just gonna get you this video. Alright. So now let's go on to heavy storms. And here is where, now, why heavy storms has snow in it? Oh, okay, now it's not got snow in it, it's got precipitation. Okay, whatever works. Alright, so let's get a look around. So now, you see the effect of the storm clouds. Very nice. You see the precipitation, the rain model has changed, so you don't have that tunnel of rain that you fly through anymore. It actually covers your entire area, which I am really glad about. That really used to just blow my sense of immersion. But look at you're just flying right under the clouds. This is like really cool. So if you're into general aviation and you want to have some challenge in flying through difficult weather, the appearance that you're going to have is going to be wonderful. And it's really going to help with the immersive factor. Okay, so let's go on to, I guess that's heavy snows I did. Or am I in thunderstorms? I forgot. Let's see. Alright, so this is thunderstorms. The other one was heavy snows, and the snow went away and turned to precipitation. But check this out. So look at the bottom of the cloud face. Varying levels, not just puffy cloud, and oh, the lightning effects, bar none, the best I've seen. So the rain looks more realistic. The lightning and the way it illuminates the rain and the haze, that seems infinitely more realistic. And you can choose what type of lightning is displayed in your game. So, well, forgive me using the word game, simulation, because I really feel this is more than a game. This is not a game. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so anyway. But as you look around, and notice that the turbulence on the aircraft, you know, I'm fighting to hold it steady, which is what would happen if you were flying in a thunderstorm, which I really think you would be trying to avoid doing. But if you want that challenge, here it is. All right, so now let's go to Orbx Weather 1. So in here you have a little bit of the overcast, you have the hazing effect. Seems to be a little bit foggy. See the varying aspects of the cloud, it's just not uniform gray. Seems to be some lightning out there as well, totally cool. And the reflective effects of the lightning on the glass, but that has nothing to do with the weather generation. But the fact that it's providing that lightning and that lighting, how it reflects is a function of the 4.1. But still, all of this in symphony, excellent effect. All right, so Orbx Weather 2. So now it's not serious clouds on the side, but you now have cirrus clouds. Did I really just say that? It's not serious clouds, but there's some cirrus clouds. The Sirius versus cirrus, cute. Anyway, you can change the type of cirrus clouds that are in your game. These are kind of like my favorite, so that's what I loaded up. But like 20 or 30 different versions of cirrus clouds that you can go through. So this is just an example of where they show up in the game. Simulation. All right, Orbx Weather 3. So you're getting a better idea of what the situations look like when we fly with these different weathers. So now you can ask yourself the question, when I have these varying weather patterns in my game, do they look this good? If they don't, then this might be something you want to consider. If they do, then maybe not. If you don't care, then you shouldn't be watching this video anyway. All right, this is Weather 4. So as you can see, shadows on the ground from the clouds, slight openings where you can see blue skies, and then you have the weather wall, photorealistic generation with the mix in the clouds here at the top. If you look right about there, really nice. Okay, so let's go to 5. So now we have a bit of precipitation, some breaks in the cloud as well, and you have its effects. I really do like the effect that when you're flying near under the clouds. They're much more detailed than they used to be. Okay, so where are we? Weather 6. Now here is one. We're now at a level where we could possibly fly through the cloud. And you'll get a chance to see that effect. But it really works well in conjunction with the overall scenery of 4.1. So I'm enjoying this. As I've said before, I have definitely no buyer's remorse for buying this program. None whatsoever. And it wasn't that bad. It was like $47, $47.93 or something like that. For your enjoyment of the game, for me, simulation, never mind, for my enjoyment of the simulation and so on and so forth, it's definitely paid off. And, for those of you that like to make videos, now you can have some weather that really brings out what you're trying to do. Okay, so I'm just going to turn, now see, as we enter this cloud, you see how that effect is as you look down on the ground. Much more dramatic than it used to be. Totally. Okay, so we won't sit around and drool over this. Let's move on to Orbx Weather 7. Okay, so now you see some of those clouds that will make you go, oh, is it going to rain? If you were on the ground and didn't know to get a weather report up, you would know as a pilot because you've done your ATIS. But you're on the ground, you see those clouds, and you're like, ooh, is rain front coming in? Yeah, that's that look. And it looks good. And now we'll do stormy weather. Now we're in the thick of it. And we look down there going, ooh, better descend because I'm about to fly into a cloud bank when I thought I was doing VFR. No VFR here, baby. And then Winter Wonderland. Now, the interesting thing about this is I didn't put it on the right season for you to see the weather, to see the snow on the ground. So that's why you don't see it, but this would be the cloud effects that they would have to go along with it. Now, I want to go back real fast to heavy snows, because that snow was there and then it went away. There we go. Now, the snow model has been updated by Prepared 4. So that's not so much the weather generation of Rex, but as it works in conjunction with the weather, you see the effect. So if you were doing a weather approach, a winter approach, this is much more realistic than it used to be, like with Flight Simulator X. So if you like those winter, maybe doing some of the bush missions in Alaska with the snowing. Oh, this is going to make it look really, really good. Okay, so I thought maybe the last thing that you'd want to see is maybe doing an approach in one of these weather patterns. So let's see which one. Let's see Orbx Weather 1. That's not all that crazy. Let's see. I can't decide. Let's try. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this is Orbx Weather 5. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use this program to set up the approach. So we'll take a look here and we'll get right back to the approach. Okay, I changed it. We're going to come in for heavy snow, so let me unpause this. Alright, so we got our approach lined up. Bring down right here. Lower flaps. Oh, that's right, because when I set it up, it automatically let the gear out. My mistake. Okay. So here you're getting an effect. You're getting to see the visual effects of being in the winter. Now, interestingly enough, because of it being winter, the airport already changes its shaders, the coloration to be fitting the winter time. It's just the rest of the world I'd have to put on the right season. But okay, so you get to see cloud cover, the snow as you're approaching. Yeah, kind of digging it. So while we're on approach, I guess I'll say, so if you think that you have seen things here that say, oh wow, my weather generation doesn't look quite that good if I'm using Rex 4, or if I'm solely using Active Sky Next, or even if you have Active Sky Next in conjunction with Cloud Art, then maybe this is something that you want to use in conjunction with it. Now, as I've said before, you don't have to give up Active Sky Next. It will sync with Active Sky Next and implant its weather art. And you just use it all in symphony together. So, or it could be standalone if you do not have any weather generation. And as I've mentioned before, if you had to decide, if you're new to Flight Sim and you just got your flight simulator, you like it, you want to take it to the next level for more immersion, and you're saying, well, what do I buy first? I would say this. If you, as I've mentioned before, if you're in general aviation, you could say, well, I don't need big airports, I need scenery because I'm going to fly around low, slow, and I want to see things. That's true, and depending on where you are, you have different things that you may or may not see. If you're into commercial aircraft, you might want to just have airports because the scenery you're going to be flying so high, you're not going to see the details. Well, one thing about this weather, the weather is everywhere you go. So it might stand to reason that you want to get the weather generation first, and I highly recommend this. And then you can work on the scenery. So bang for your buck, this you're going to have everywhere, simulating weather all over the world. This might be the first thing you want to start with before you get to the scenery. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of a review to show off the different weather effects, and it can help you make a more informed decision on a purchase if you're going to get it. Once again, my recommendation is it is definitely worth the investment. If I had to give it a score, I would definitively give this a 9.5 to a 10. It's hats off to Rex. This was a good product. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you again. Leave a couple of likes. Please leave some comments, and I'll see you again in the virtual skies.